Hello, I am Nadine,
Hi, I'm Nour.
and we're gonna be talking about the mystery genre today, like its history, the most popular books, most popular authors. What do you think of mystery as a genre? It's personally one of my favorites.
Yeah, it's a really interesting genre, and especially the type where there's like detective stories. The characters are like really interesting, and you get to feel like you're solving the mystery while you're reading it.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know if you guys know the origins of them as much as I do. Maybe I've just looked into this too much. But the first like proper modern mystery story as we currently know it was written by Edgar Allan Poe. It's called The Murders of Rue Morgue. I think it's Rue Morgue. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it right or not. Because it was French. The name of the place was French, so I'm not sure. But yeah, and it's very different actually from his most like macabre writing, the one that he's like very characterized with. It's said to be the first because it was published in 1841, and like another like very prominent example of early mystery is Bleak House by Charles Dickens in 1853, but this is like usually the first one. There was also a German guy, I don't currently remember his name though.
Do you know any books by him?
The German guy? No, I just I was looking about Edgar Allan Poe and who was the first person to write the first mystery, and I found this guy. He wrote it in 1819, so like several years before Poe. Actually, I think when Poe was a kid. But yeah. So he's also credited for it, but it's usually just.
So you feel like that German guy influenced Poe's writing?
Oh yeah, it was very possible actually.
Yeah.
But yeah, and when mystery started out, they didn't really have the same structure as they currently do now. Like the current structure that we have now is kind of thanks to something we're gonna be talking about further. Very interesting, in my opinion at least. Maybe it's just because I'm a nerd about this. But there's this club for British authors. They created rules for mystery writing, and they created mysteries as how we know them now, like kind of like a game between the author and the like reader, with the detective being like on the same level as the reader. Like you have the same amount of information as the detective. It's very interesting, and that's kind of like it's interesting seeing how mysteries progressed from Poe's time to now.
Wait, is this the club Agatha Christie
Yeah,
was
the
in?
detection club, yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
She was the president of that club before.
Yeah.
Wait, but like, what do they do in that club?
It was like the most elitist dramatic thing ever to ever exist. They had elaborate dinners. They would rent out rooms.
They just
and,
discuss mysteries in there.
Yeah, literally their plots. They used to do round robins. Round robins are basically like بيقعدوا حوالين ترابيزة. They'd sit around the table, and they would someone would start writing the beginning of a mystery story, and then the others would continue where they left off.
That sometimes sounds like such a cool group activity.
I read one of them. It's so funny because at the end you have like the conclusions, and the guy who wrote the conclusions, an author that we're not really gonna talk about too much because I don't think we'd have the time, called Anthony Berkeley. He wrote the conclusion. Everyone disagreed with him. Everyone was like, "No, you're lying."
Fighting over the ending.
They were actually. It was so fun, and I believe they actually did it once on the BBC. Like they recorded it, and yeah, Agatha Christie's second husband would tune in specifically from Iraq or Syria just to listen to his wife reading it out loud. It was very cute. Yeah. But now I think whenever anyone thinks about mysteries, who do you think they think of first?
Personally, first person that comes to mind is Sherlock Holmes.
Me too, honestly.
Yeah, he's one of the more interesting, cool detective characters.
What do you mean by that?
No, it's just fun reading his stories specifically because you get to see an insight on how he solves the mysteries. They tell you the way he thinks.
That was kind of the point with Doyle. He was so pissed at how they existed. Am I sure? Am I allowed to say the word pissed?
You are?
Okay. but yeah, he was very annoyed at how like why is the detective just solving this and not explaining how it goes? So he would add an explanation. Yeah. And also, he was a doctor. I don't know if you know this or not.
No, I didn't know.
He was a doctor. He hated being a doctor. He wanted to write, especially like historical fiction. And it was kind of why he hated Holmes so much, because Holmes, he wrote him just to get money. And then he killed him off. He's like, okay, I'm done with this guy. No one's going to be seeing him again.
Mad.
People were so mad. His mother mailed him about it.
Yeah, I was going to say that. His own mother was mad.
She's like, bring him back, Arthur, bring him back. And like the general British public was so pissed about it that they were like, you need to bring him back. Peer pressure works, guys. Peer pressure works.
I really like the concept of Sherlock having a mind palace. That he like remembers stuff.
It was, okay, in the show it was a mind palace, but in the book it was a mind attic. He was so particular with the attic thing that like Watson would bring it up from time to time just to make fun of him. Yeah. He's like, you don't know what the solar system exists of. No. Which one of the stories were your favorites? I have I read them all. They're like my favorites, honestly. He's possibly my favorite detective.
The only ones I remember off like the top of my head are what was it? The Sign of 4?
Yeah.
And The Adventure of the Missing 3 Quartet.
That's really cool. What do you like about Sign of 4? Okay. I'll go first. I'll give
your favorites.
I'll give you. I have several, but like it's like you. Like one's a book and one's a short story. The book is Study in I mispronounced that. I'm sorry. Study in Scarlet, because I think that the introduction of Sherlock Holmes to John Watson and their initial meeting is such like an iconic moment. It changed the history of mystery literature quite literally forever. You know. And they also changed each other's lives. Like I find it very interesting, their friendship and their impact on one another as individuals. They really helped each other.
It's so cool, like detective partners solving stuff. You know, I like the concept when there's like two people that like solve crimes together.
This is also another thing that the detection club kind of emphasized. They were like, we're gonna make it a rule now that you need to include a companion. You need to include
inseparable duo.
Yeah, you need to. It was quite literally written. I read the rules once. There were 2 sets of rules for the American people, 2 sets of rules for the British, 1 for the American. The American, everyone hated them because they were too strict, but the British, they broke their own rules, which is hilarious. But they quite literally wrote, it's better to Watsonize than to soliloquize. Like don't have a detective on his own. That's lame. I think it's because like you kind of relate to Watson's perspective in like being the dimmer one, like you're just being led by the detective and whatnot. But anyway, so that's one of my favorites. Another one is Scandal in Bohemia, because Irene Adler is iconic and I love her so much. She's honestly one of my favorite characters. I love
she's really cool.
I generally love the women in the Sherlock Holmes stories because this was a very sexist time and they were all very powerful.
Yeah.
Like they were all very kind of striking women. But
and they were given importance in the stories as much as the main characters.
Exactly. And like Holmes never took them lightly. Like he would be like, this seems lame, and then he'd hear her out and he'd be like, oh my god, that's so serious. You're like my daughter. Oh my god, I'm gonna help you. I need to help you. Oh my goodness. So I like that, honestly.
We should also talk about another author.
Yeah, obviously.
Agatha Christie.
Absolutely.
Yeah, which book of hers is your favorite?
Honestly, I have one that's like kind of popular and one that's a bit underrated, which is like criminally
Talk about the underrated one.
Okay, it's called Partners in Crime. They are a detective duo. They're not even proper detectives. They're just like amateur sleuths. I don't know how did they get into it, honestly, because I can't find the first book. I just have the second one. It's basically like a series of short stories of this married couple solving crimes together, and they're so funny. They are hilarious. She's so much smarter than him, and he depends on her like a lot, and they balance out each other a lot. Like she has the more like masculine characteristics and he has some of the more like feminine characteristics. Like he's very empathetic. They kind of balance each other so nicely. I love it.
Sounds like an interesting duo. I haven't read that book actually.
I think I only read it because my mother had a copy of it that she bought God knows how many years ago.
Well, you're now glad you stumbled upon it.
It's my favorite, honestly. And I also like ABC Murders because I like Hastings. But I agree with the Detection Club. It is best to Watsonize than to soliloquize. Hastings is such a funny character. I love him so much, actually.
Yeah. My favorite is Death in the Clouds.
Ooh.
Yeah, because like I liked the fact that like you watch him trying to clear his own name, because like it's like the first time in like one of her books that he gets like accused, like he becomes one of the suspects.
Yeah.
It's like you get to see him like trying to solve the crime as usual while also trying to clear his name.
Yeah.
It's pretty interesting.
I really liked it, honestly.
It's kind of confusing because like all of this is over a wasp.
Oh yeah, it's like it's a dart. It's a Native American dart. It is not a wasp.
And the wild conclusions.
Yeah, they're insane. So they kept blaming the wrong guy for the entire book. I'm not gonna spoil further, but yeah.
Don't burn it.
Yeah, this is enough. This is enough spoiling. But yeah, Agatha Christie is actually like. I'm not sure how accurate are these statistics because the source that I used is a bit old, but supposedly she sold over 2 billion copies. I believe that, but I don't know, is it 2 billion or has it increased to like 5 billion? And like, who knows?
Increased.
Absolutely. And like I've heard that like she's only been outsold by Shakespeare and the Bible, which is like, wow, okay, wow.
Yeah.
But I think it's very well deserved. Aside from Poirot, she's also written Miss Marple. I've only read one of those books. Was not that good, honestly.
I remember reading that she had like an alternate name under which she wrote romance novels.
Mary Westcott, Mary something like that.
Novels.
Yeah.
I really want to read those.
Honestly, me too. She's also such an intriguing individual, mainly because of the Detection Club. I love the Detection Club, guys. They were such interesting people. And as Nour said, she was president for a time. I think it was sometime in the 50s until she died in like 76. And also, there's obviously her disappearance for 11 days. Do you know about that?
No.
Dude, it's like one of the most well-known things about Agatha Christie that so her first husband, awful man, right?
Yeah.
He cheated on her and she found out, and right after that she disappeared for 11 days and people were thinking that it was a scam to sell her books.
Really?
It was right after Roger Ackroyd was published, actually.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wait, what happened in those 11 days?
She just said that she did not remember. Whenever anyone would ask her about it, she'd just like, what are you talking about? That never happened.
Maybe that was her way of coping.
I think so, because she actually went, like, they found her under, this actually relates to Arthur Conan Doyle as well. He was so worried about her that he got, like, psychics taking her stuff and, like, trying to guess where she is.
What?
Yeah. And they found her, like, in a hotel under the, like, name of her husband's mistress. Like, the woman that her husband was cheating on.
Okay,
yeah.
That's one way to not get found for a long while.
Yeah. But yeah, that was something. But back to the Detection Club. One of another prominent member who I find is not really that popular anymore, and I don't really understand why, because I just love her a lot. I'll tell you the name, and I don't really think you've heard of her. Dorothy L. Sayers.
Yeah.
Have you heard of her before?
No.
Fair enough. I find that I introduce people to her all the time. I found her about her actually like while reading about the Detection Club. She is often compared to Christie as well, but I think that her mysteries are very different because she's a lot more detail oriented. Like, I feel like Christie is her writing style depends more on dialogue. She's not really that descriptive, with like very few exceptions.
Like, Christie is more about like a dialogue person, while in Sherlock Holmes, Arthur like is more focused on like showing you the process and the dialogue.
Yeah. And I think Poirot shows you the process as well, but it's kind of like in a bragging way. Like, he will gather everyone in a room and then be like, okay, I figured it out. I figured it out. Yeah, he's vain, but I think that that's part of why he's so lovable, because in spite of his vanity, he's also a very caring man. Dorothy Sayers is very detail oriented. Like, she will tell you unnecessary details about her characters' lives to the point that it's just very insightful in terms of the era. Like, I read only 3 of her books, aside from like a round robin with the other members of the Detection Club. it was written, I think, in like 1930 or something like that, and it was based off of a true crime case. It happened over a century ago now. It's the Edith Thompson case. It's just like, it's very well known if you like older true crime stuff. It was based off of that case, and I think it was like less about the case, honestly, and more about just like what life was like back then. Because they just kept, like, she just kept talking about like, oh, this is like how they would do things, this is how they would cope when bad things happened.
Yeah.
Like, there was one character I remember, she would constantly be reading because her life was god awful and she was trying to escape it.
Real. Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, that's I've never heard of her before. Like, thank you for telling me about her. I'll put one of her books in the list. I'll read it.
I think that the best one to start with is Whose Body, which is the first of the Lord Peter Wimsey. Peter Wimsey is like her Sherlock Holmes, except he's just like a silly little guy.
Every writer has their Sherlock Holmes.
Literally, they have like one guy that they absolutely adore, except for like Holmes and Poirot, because they were both actually hated by their authors. Yeah, but
it's like I'm convinced like they like them in the beginning when they write about them, but when they notice that like people start caring about the character more than the author, they start hating their character.
But it wasn't the case with Sayers, actually. Sayers really liked Peter Wimsey. She made him her ideal man. She always had men problems. Yeah, she actually was, and she was like she was doing really badly financially when she started writing them. So she would give him everything that she wanted. Like, I read like it was from an interview. They were asking her like, oh, how do you go about like writing about him? And she said that like the things that she didn't have, the things that she couldn't afford, she was like, okay, I'm going to give them to him.
Yeah.
And
she's trying to manifest.
Yeah, actually. And she even gave him a wife, which was another rule-breaking moment for the Detection Club. She was also president, by the way. She was president like right before Christie. And she gave him a wife. Her name was Harriet. She's a detective. She's a mystery author. And she was actually a suspect in the crime. That's how he met her. That's how Wimsey met her. And he's like, oh my god, she's so smart. She's so cool. He immediately proposes and she immediately rejects.
Oh.
Yeah. They're such funny characters. They're so interesting. And they're a lot like Peter Wimsey as a character is actually based off of another guy who's also based off of Sherlock Holmes. Everything connects, guys. Everything connects.
Yeah, it shows like how all of the authors in the mystery world are interlinked.
Yeah, but this guy actually isn't from mystery. It's the P.G. Wodehouse Jeeves series. He's a lot like Bertie Wooster. He's actually based off of Bertie Wooster. I would love to talk about that, but we're talking about mysteries right now, so maybe another episode. But yeah. That's it. I hope you enjoyed this, guys. Bye bye.